All right, let's dive into the age-old question that I find really interesting. Are Americans stupid? So there's one camp, I call it the Noam Chomsky camp. Noam Chomsky is, of course, a world-renowned intellectual and an all-around brilliant guy and a linguist, and he says, fuck no. He says the American people are not stupid. It's in fact, it's quite offensive that anybody would even say that. The problem is the rich. The problem is the ruling class and the elites, the kleptocrats, the people who have basically hijacked the system. And the people are just regular, smart people who are held down. And if there was more democracy in the country, then, we would flourish much more as a nation and we would really see people reach the peak of human potential. But he says for sure, he's like, no, they're not stupid. Bill Maher, of course, is on the opposite end of the spectrum. He is a smart and hilarious comedian, and he says, yes, the American people are fucking idiots. Now, these are two guys that I really respect, and I find it fascinating because so many people in my life, just anecdotally, I know a lot of people who I respect and like who say, yeah, people are fucking stupid, and a lot of people who I respect and like that don't say that, who say the opposite. So it's this weird thing where there's smart people on both sides of the conversation. So who's right? Well, let's try and flesh it out a little bit. Exhibit A for evidence is a story that broke today. The filmmaker Errol Morris did this new documentary about Donald Trump. We spoke about it a little bit the other day. And he basically came out and said in an interview that the reason we were duped into a war is because we're gullible morons. That the entire country is gullible morons, and Donald Rumsfeld, who is this cheesy, sleazy salesman, we fell for what he said because we're so stupid. And he's right according to the polls that we did fall for the Iraq war pitch. In fact, here, let's listen to an old New Rules from Maher, and we'll let him make the case that the American people are dumb.
A majority of Americans cannot name a single branch of government or explain what the Bill of Rights is. 24% could not name the country America fought in the Revolutionary War. More than 2/3 of Americans don't know what's in Roe versus Wade. 2/3 don't know what the Food and Drug Administration does. Some of this stuff you should be able to pick up simply by being alive. You know the way the Slumdog Kid knew about cricket? But not here. Nearly half of Americans don't know that states have 2 senators. And more than half can't name their congressman. And among Republican governors, only 3 got their wife's name right on the first try. It's always a bridge too far. People bitch and moan about taxes and spending. They have no idea what their government spends money on. The average voter thinks foreign aid consumes 24% of our federal budget. It's actually less than 1%. A third of Republicans believe Obama is not a citizen. And a third of Democrats believe that George Bush had prior knowledge of the 9/11 attacks, which is an absurd sentence because it contains the words Bush and knowledge. Sleep tight, batshit. Sarah Palin says she would never apologize for America, even though a Gallup poll says 18% of us think the sun revolves around the earth. No, they're not stupid. They're interplanetary mavericks.
Now, I can also add to that at least 80% of the country is religious, and being religious involves, of course, by definition, that you buy into many different types of dogma that have no evidence to back it up. So, yeah, there's a strong case to be made that we're stupid. But at the same time, here is the counter-argument. 60% of us say that you shouldn't cut Medicare or education spending or Social Security. 60% of us say tax the rich a little more than we do. Only 17% of us want to continue the war in Afghanistan. A majority of us want to cut military spending. A majority want immigration reform, single-payer health care. 80% want the minimum wage increased. A majority want climate change addressed. A majority want universal background checks for gun purchases. A majority want money out of politics. In fact, that one is overwhelming. People rightly address corruption as one of the biggest problems in the country. So here is the inevitable conclusion, in my opinion. Both camps are right. Now, I know that's almost like, it seems like a dodge, right? It seems like that's not a fulfilling answer to just kind of cop out and say, well, they're both right. But let me try to narrow it down a little more and explain why I think that that's the inevitable conclusion. We are both stupid and smart. So we are stupid when it comes to specifics. When it comes to specifics and details and history and actually knowing, like, facts that are repeatable. We suck at other things too, like science and math. Like, in every realm like that, we are stupid. And I think Mars Rant is right on with that. I mean, he's just citing the polls. He's just giving, the reality of the situation. But at the same time that that's going on, we're also not masochists. And that's an important point. The American people, they don't want to inflict self-pain. They know what's in their self-interest in the big picture politically, which is why on so many of all those issues that we just went through, they're right. They're right. We should raise the minimum wage. We should cut military spending. We should, preserve Medicare, education, and Social Security. So they're right on all these different political issues, but they're wrong on a lot of the specific details. They can't describe to you exactly why they believe what they believe about politics, but most of the time they're right. So it's a weird thing. But I came up with this silly phrase that I used to describe it, and longtime listeners of the show probably already know because you've heard me say it time and time again. But I call the American people politically schizophrenic, which means sometimes we are dead on about something, and we don't even know how dead on we are about it. And other times, we are the fucking dumbest people believing the most ignorant shit, and it makes you want to bang your head against the wall.